In recent years, InterVarsity and other Christian clubs on college campuses have been running into a problem where they're being kicked off college campuses, being de-recognized by universities, and it's been a huge problem. Basically what's happening is that a lot of colleges and universities are accepting what's called an all-comers policy. Basically what that means is that if you are a club on a college campus, you have to accept everybody as a member into your club, and you have to accept everybody as being a potential leader. This obviously creates a point of conflict because as a Christian organization, InterVarsity would prefer that their leaders actually be Christians. They actually believe what the organization stands for. And this is something that I think is pretty straightforward. I think it's pretty obvious that if you have a Christian club, you want to have your members be Christian. You want to have your leaders be Christian. But as an organization, InterVarsity, of course, welcomes everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are. It doesn't matter what your lifestyle is. You are welcome to come and be a part of the community of InterVarsity, even if you're not a Christian. As a Christian club, InterVarsity requires that their leaders follow what the Bible says about sexuality. So you're not to cohabitate with your girlfriend, for example. You're not to do things that as Christians we believe God would deem to be sexually inappropriate. And part of that also includes not having a romantic relationship with somebody of the same sex. And this is an issue that a lot of universities have really come down hard with Christian groups. They've said, oh well, if you're a Christian group and you're not letting gay people be the leaders in your club, then you're discriminating against gay people. In the state of California a couple years ago, InterVarsity was de-recognized in all state university campuses. California had an all-comers policy where their clubs, student clubs and organizations, had to accept everybody. And InterVarsity said, we cannot do this in good conscience. A lot of this had to do with state of California wanting Christian clubs to accept members who consider themselves to be GLBT. However, this would obviously violate our faith. So what happened was California de-recognized InterVarsity, and about a year later, because the state of California met with InterVarsity, they came to an agreement, and InterVarsity was allowed to be recognized as a student organization once again. Now, obviously in California, this story had a good ending, and this was a time where people with a lot of differences, very different worldviews, very different beliefs about morality, were able to come together and say, hey, let's come to an agreement, let's come to a set of agreements that works for everybody. And so I think that is something that a lot of us can learn from. However, in other places across the United States, there have been universities where InterVarsity was kicked off campus or was de-recognized, and the story did not end as well as it did in the state of California. What I can say is that this accusation that InterVarsity and conservative Christians in general hate gay people or hate people in the GLBT community is completely unfounded. Just because you disagree with somebody and just because you disagree with their behavior doesn't mean you hate that person. And with me personally, as a teenager, I battled with same-sex attraction quite a lot. This is something that I dealt with. This is something I've dealt with in my personal life. And all of the men in InterVarsity knew about this. They all knew that, hey, this is what I've gone through. When I was 17, that's when things were the worst. I remember looking up to the sky and saying, God, if I have to choose between being close to another male and being close to you, I choose you. And years later, I ended up joining InterVarsity, and they showed me so much love and respect that it would floor anybody. nobody who could see InterVarsity through my eyes would make the mistake of thinking that Christians hate gay people. Now, I will say that I didn't consider myself to be gay. I never took that label upon myself. However, when I was, like I said, when I was younger, I wanted to have a close relationship with another guy. I wanted this really bad. And I dealt with a lot of emotional confusion. I dealt with a lot of sexual confusion, and this is what I wanted. To rewind myself just a little bit here, I always wanted to have a close best friend growing up. And when I was a teenager, that hunger, that desire to be close to other boys developed into me wanting to have what I perceived as it developed into me thinking that I wanted a sexual relationship with other guys, and thinking that that's what I really desired. And looking back and being older, being wiser now, even though I did have those feelings to an extent, the real need deep down was to have a healthy, emotionally close platonic relationship with another guy. So it wasn't sexual at its core, but it definitely felt like it. And so I can understand people who may consider themselves to be GLBT, who may think that they need to have some kind of relationship that's sexual with somebody of the same sex. But for me, what I found was that what I really wanted was the same thing that all guys want. They want to be close to other guys. They want to have close relationships. They want to be understood. They want to be heard. They have that hunger for male love that all men have, that all boys have. And so I dealt with a lot of issues as a teenager. I dealt with a lot of issues as I got older, and maybe the long version of my story is beyond the scope of this video. But what I can say is that all of the men in InterVarsity knew about what I dealt with. They knew about my past. They knew about whatever current struggles I had, and they loved me and respected me. They never treated me like I was a second-class man. They always treated me like I was equal with them. Not a single one of them ever disrespected me in this regard. Not a single one of them ever treated me poorly. Now, that doesn't mean we didn't have interpersonal conflict in other areas, as friends do. However, it does mean that I was shown love, and I was never shown hate in this regard. And so I guess I could tell more of my personal story. I could tell more details about what I've struggled with. I could go on talking all day about that, and maybe I'll do that in some other videos later on down the road. But what I really wanted to make this video about, telling the world my story, is I really want to refute the idea that Christians hate gay people. That it's somehow discriminatory for Christian groups to say, hey, we have our beliefs and we have our way of doing things. I would like to see universities, and ideally America as a whole, but specifically I would like to see universities become a place where people can come onto the college campus, students can come and professors can come, and people can disagree. People can have arguments. You can have a Christian club and they can hold to their beliefs and do what they do, and you can have the gay club, and maybe once in a while they get together and have a game night. Even though they might believe totally opposite things, they might have very different worldviews, people can disagree, and that doesn't mean you hate somebody.